China has gone through quite a bit of um, uh, changes, and there was a lot happening. Many outsiders, outside of the first generation people came in, and there was another hype of impact investing on the global stage, which also brought in this hyping Chinese market, where there's a lot more people coming in and joining the market and be like, oh, we want to try what impact investing is, and we don't know how it could work in China, and let's figure things out. So this includes people from think tanks, intellectuals, academia people, but also from a policy end. Some of the key cities, including Shenzhen, has many like strong forces policies to trying to do something. And then it also involves different types of impact investors and funds and also projects. So 18 and 19 has been a flourishing of different conferences and a lot of communications and things just happening. And then from there onwards, from 19 and 20, we're seeing the second generation of impact funds, which it is a pity that the first generation impact funds, because of the particular traits coming from nonprofit and philanthropy, as well as not really having many good performances to disclosure. So these two types of people are quite different, to be honest. So the second generation of impact investors and impact funds that we are working with these days are very different people from the first generation. Although we're still linked and connected, we do talk a lot. But the second generation, usually you will see they started out the fund around that time. And these are the active people in the market right now. And these trades, they are more from investment background. So people who are doing investment before, whether they're doing secondary equity, debt, or all sorts, but they're finance people from that consistent. But also these people are more deep dive into the actual problems and the Chinese ways of looking into the social problems and environmental problems, instead of using like a Western lens and trying to find what fits in the market. But they are really going deep dive into the market and see what China has. So that's very different. So that's an interesting market that I'm working with on a daily basis right now. And secondly, I think one of my key findings from my research and paper is to understand. A lot of people always ask me like, how is impact investing in China like? And I think we really need to deep dive into how the core China system is like on its own. Like doesn't matter, like it doesn't relating to not relating to impact, but how the, let's say, VC system is like in China. One of the key thing is we do have so much government and policy related funding in the VC structure and system. And this has nothing to do with impact or not. This is the fundamentals and the structure of the VC market anyway. So when there was, I remember I had this discussion with a professor who was questioning why is government funding having a substantial, consistent and substantial portion within the ecosystem, and he thinks that that proportion shouldn't be counted as impact investing. But my counter argument is you need to look at the ecosystem as naturally how it is like first, and then we look into like how impact should be like and could be like in China. So that's very Chinese. And coming the second part of my sharing is on 2060 Advisory. So I founded 2060 Advisory as the first proper impact investing advisory firm, also because I see this gap in the market, in China market, where on one hand, we might not have many proper impact funds and impact funds on its own, but there are fundings from different entities, whether that's family offices, philanthropies, government funding, or traditional funds. They do want to do some impact related investment. So the funding does exist. And then on the other hand, there are different projects within, whether it's social, environmental. So this is us as an intermediary trying to help the market going forward and linking every side. And the reason that we call 2060 is because it's the carbon neutral goal for China. and it's very Chinese 2060 and very, I guess, emerging markets. And we are mostly focused on carbon neutrality, sustainability. So we do projects on CCUS, hydrogen, virtual power plants, and circular economy, things like that. Can we have the next slide, please? Can I? Oh, okay. Yeah. So these are some of the projects that we've helped with, whether they're doing carbon SaaS management or CCUS to make it into clean concrete, or that's hydrogen power plant. Yeah. So maybe is that my time? So I'll just close here and welcome to have like other.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. We'll get back to you with some questions later on. But finally, we would love to hear from Milton. And Milton, you have maybe 7 minutes left until we open the question and answer section. The stage is yours, please.
Thank you. The plan. Thank you also, my fellow panelists. It's a pleasure to meet you today. And indeed, we believe as a company in impact, and our 2 areas of impact has been in creating sustainable businesses and also in creating jobs. Africa has a challenge. It has one of the fastest growing population in the world, yet we have 40% of the Arab land in the world that can be used for farming. But the people of Africa continue to be faced with big challenges, and the first one of them being lack of jobs, especially for the youth. And this is something that we, as a company, we have taken to be our mission, to be able to create sustainable businesses and jobs opportunity in East Africa. Everybody has a role to play, but this is our role to play. So far, we have been able to train more than 1,000 entrepreneurs. We have incubated and accelerated over 100 startups. And we also have a dedicated team that is present in Kenya, Uganda, and Norway. We have invested in about 7 companies. That means that some other investors have also been able to invest in some of our startups. We have created around 430 jobs, and we have been able to raise about 2.4 million to support our operation. Our company is called TechBig Invest Africa. Essentially, we are a business incubator and accelerator based in Nairobi and in Mombasa. We have been established since 2017, and our key activities is just running business incubation, acceleration program, and then we support our startups with venture building and mentorship. On top of that, we add the package of investment in early tech startups, and we also do support some startups when it comes to consultancy work. Our key partners that enable us to achieve this are like Norec, which is based in Norway. We have NORAD, a government agency. We have a foundation called GRIEC Foundation, an individual that supports us. We also partner with Enriching Africa. This is a youth-funded program that supports us in giving us capacity. Our key partner, which is also one of our startups that I've mentioned above, is Tsunami Solar Kenya, that is based in Kenya and also based in Uganda, doing mini grids and a solar home system. So essentially, I wanted to be able to look at today's discussion. I really value the vast wisdom that Ariel has been able to give us. Ms. Wang has also been able to give us, Dr. Yesh. Today, I wanted to look at it differently, and I wanted to look at it from the lens of an ESG investing, which essentially still remain as impact investment. This is a practice that has been with us for a long time ago, since about 3,500 years ago. By then, when it began, it was just like a prohibition about investing in certain or making financial decisions, but it wasn't clear. It was done by certain religious groups, and that is the first time we see the mention of impact investment. But we come at a time where capitalism takes over, and you see we have a system that comes in and it's loved by all. It is doing wonders. It's creating jobs, But all of a sudden, then the whole society realizes that there is a certain dysfunction with the system because the system seeks to extract value from the economic system and also promotes inequality. On the other side, it promotes a lot of machismo in that it excludes women from the realms of decision making and financial decision making. Then that is something that we cannot allow to continue in the status quo. Dr. Yesha had mentioned the principles around capitalism, and that was profitability was the essence of running a business. But we reach a level whereby new breed of investors, the millennials, see whatever is going and they start believing, wait a minute, we live in this world. We have to take care of the world. We have to take care of the planet. We have to take care of the people. And we have to take care of the society and everything around it. What do? They have a focus and a tendency to say, yes, I want to be able to invest in something that can be able to do good to the people on the planet and the stakeholders. Eventually, we see some good political will coming in, and that is around 20 years ago. And I know much of the effort had been going, but the first visible one comes in 20 years ago when Kofi Annan comes in and he announced, yeah, can we be able to do something? A report about who cares win. And then we see now the whole political system coming in play, adopting, trying to make the Millennium Development Goals, and then they are going to, again, embarking on making the 17 SDGs. And this is so exciting. And from that, we see the birth of ESG financial products. And this is what really changes a lot of things. Now, when we look into the future, what do we see? We see opportunities that were not there coming into play. And up to now, the financial system has been able to inject about $1 trillion into the ESG impact investing. But we see that trend continuing to rise, according to Maskinsky. That could rise up to around 90 trillions by the year 2030. And this is good news in that it will change a lot about how people want to be able to invest in future. And that is a particular area that probably today I wanted to be able to look at. And what are the key challenges that we've been able to see? Some of the challenges that clearly have been seen from the previous system was the role of women in society. We need to see a lot of women playing better roles in financial decision making, in political decision making, because they are good custodians and they are good, they are quite accountable when it comes to leadership, and they would also be able to conserve a lot what is given to them, and also be able to think about future generations. That comes in naturally with them. Also, we'd want to see the tapping in of ecological capital. This is what can be able to help people that want to receive impact investment. How do you align your ecological capital that you have in abundance, for example, Africa, and leverage it with other people who would be willing to be able to invest in that? Other challenges we see is that in uniformity in legislation, you'll be able to see that EU has on its legislation, and it's clearly indicative of the direction they want to take in terms of impact testing. And the challenge that we have, that is the biggest challenge up to now, is that we have interest. We have a lot of people that are interested in ESG investing. That is around 85%. But the adoption is only 59%. And that is according to the report that has been given by the same organization, that is Beckers and McKinsey. So these are issues that we should be able to see. How do we address them and align them together? Reporting metrics also becomes a key issue and a bigger challenge. There are no agreed upon impact metrics which we can be able to report when we want to do impact investment. Transparency, a major issue. Another thing is the biggest risk of greenwashing, whereby somebody tells you, okay, we want to invest in an impact project, but they just want to greenwash around it. And that remains a challenge. We need to be able to separate and be able to say, okay, sure, we want to do impact investing, but we want only to concentrate on those projects that can have impact, not people or companies that want just to be able to move through it and do some greenwashing. So the current systematic challenges that we have had has led to certain anomalies, and that is on the development side and on the environmental side. And those are also the areas of key opportunities from which most of the women entrepreneurs can be able to tap into once they begin to look at issues like hunger, because development must come, but you cannot have hunger and development. So also to be able to figure out how do we feed our people, and then development can follow them later on. There are areas of illiteracy, and those are also areas where you can also be able to invest lighting, and so many other areas. And those are the areas that are coming under the development side. On the environmental side, that we have issues around desertification, which Simultana has talked about it a little bit, and we know the challenge that Africa is facing and the whole world. About 6 million hectares of productive land is going dry annually. Something has to be done there, and that is also an opportunity to be able to do about it. My panelists have talked about climate change, and that is something that we also have to consider. If we have to do impact investment, what do we do about it? But one thing that I would like to note today is the areas concerning public goods. How do you address that? The public goods where the return is not very clear, should we continue to concentrate on any areas that have a profit? No, we also have to shift the focus and look that we have certain goods that are public goods, and these goods they might not have the return immediately, but they'll have some benefit which they're able to give to the people, to the society, and also contribute to the well-being of so many other things in future. And those are areas that we can all put our heads together, not one individual, but politicians, businessmen, academicians, every stakeholders. We have to work together, because for us to succeed, then we have to be working in tandem. So my recommendation was
Milton,
just,
if you could have maybe 60 seconds and then to allow for some time for question and answer.
I'll just stick to my recommendation, and that would be we need to be able to support more women to establish more projects, and also give them a chance to rise to decision-making areas of employment. And then that would be the biggest thing that I would be able to recommend today. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Milton. And then I want to get back to Ariel really quickly. I promised to get back to you to tell me about the importance of small ticketing. Maybe if you could take us through that in a minute or so.
Sorry.
Yes, I promised to get back to you. I wanted to know more about the importance of small ticket sizes, please.
Yes. So there's also an interesting chat sort of happening on the side chat around sort of, I think Anthony had mentioned small scale manufacturing. To connect that to the smaller ticket sizes, there is a whole host of different types of enterprises that exist in the market. It is not a one size fits all anything. And the idea that the smaller ticket sizes are actually creating a feeder for larger ticket sizes down the road, that's one point. The other half of the equation is that not every company is going to be a unicorn, and they don't need to be. I think that is a measure of success misses the point entirely, right? There are small scale manufacturers, there are mama mbogas, these are ladies that sell vegetables on the side of the road. These are the people that are driving our economies in emerging markets, and they will never be attractive to investors, commercial investors, impact investors. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're too high risk. They're way too small ticket size, and we just need more creative, ways to support them. I think smaller ticket sizes for companies that are looking to scale are important, but there's a whole host of other enterprises out there that need equally creative interventions and services to help them grow and sustain. I'll stop.
Thank you so much. And then maybe Dr. Aisha, I don't know which point would you like to take on trends shaping impact investment on the edges, or climate finance, or finance capital. But to give your last parting shots, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I think there's so much in here to unpack. And I think what all the speakers have pulled out is that while there is so much local complexity, I think wherever you look on the emerging market spectrum, there's certain themes that emerge in common. I mean, one, we have to stop letting Silicon Valley determine exactly what the right investment models are. This is not, doing investment in Africa, in Pakistan, it's not Silicon Valley multiples. And so we as an industry have to push back against that and say, this is what's critical and here's what's realistic. We're going to be honest with you about it. And these are the returns we can deliver. However, in addition to that, here's everything else that we're delivering. And so along with that is this whole idea of what Milton said, how do we measure these impacts? How do we actually reflect them so that they become more robust? But, I again, going back to what Ariel was saying as well, the issues are clear. Those of us who are based in these regions, we know the markets we're in. We just need to start getting less. I think the time is for us to be more vocal, for us to be more honest about what it means, and for us to stand strong and say, this is what is required, and come partner. And if you don't want to, then let's be honest about it and say, that's not what you're doing. Then you're not doing impact investing on the edges. Invest in Tesla. I mean, I'm fine. That's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. And Yijing, if you can have some, give us some examples about the climate mitigation and just a second, and climate mitigation and adaptation in China, please.
Sure. Yeah, I really agree with what Aisha just said. I think the model of Silicon Valley, I remember there was an article written by Atlantic 2 years ago where they were reviewing how the actual results and performance of the past 20 years VC models of Silicon Valley has really done and improved our lives in this world and planet. And there was a very provocative title of, we were promised a industrial revolution, but what we got was just convenience by Uber, by Airbnb, by all these. And I was like, I love that article, and I share with so many friends. I was like, we need to really think, especially we know our markets and we know how system works, and we understand the principles and the principles and elements of impact investing. So here we go. We need to bring that, but then we need to be creative and see how things actually works in China, or how things really works in Pakistan or Africa. I think there's a lot we could learn from past experience and from other markets, but we are the person knowing how things could work, and we need to work that out. So that is something I really advocate for as well. And I just want to come back to this idea of global partnerships, but also on local stage. I think there was echoed by a lot of people, but because of this changing political situation and global situation for the past several years, and this is just overwhelmingly every single day, to be honest. But I think, let's say on a very particular projects, let's just say like carbon SaaS management tech, when we are looking at opportunities to invest into carbon SaaS management platforms in China, we are surely benchmarking all the other areas and technologies and startups globally. How are US doing, how are Europe doing, how are Africa doing, how are Singapore doing in Southeast Asia. So I think on solution level, we are looking globally, and we do need more global collaboration. Particularly, I really want, I really miss my impact investing communities globally. And I do advocate for that. We need more conversations like this, and because all these problems are shared, but then we need to, but on execution level, we need to really come down to our different markets and see how things could work. So yeah, thanks so much for this panel, and yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And more conversations about this are ongoing, and please join us next week same time, same place. I've left the link to the Women in Tech networking meeting. Dear audience, dear panel, we'll be following up on ideas and building cooperations and projects based on today's discussion. I've left the link in the public chat function. Will you please register so that we can work together and continue the conversation. We have come to the end of our discussion here today, a little bit over time, but due to the nature of the discussion, very interesting, a very strong submission, and I apologize for that. Please, and in appreciation to being panel with us today, here are the 3 certificates that the European Technology Chamber confirms that a tree has been planted for Dr. Aisha Khan under the EU Tech Climate Action Partnership. These 3 certificates will be sent to you shortly after the webinar. As well, a tree for Ariel Molino, a tree for Yijing Wang, and finally a tree for Milton Onyiro. From me, thank you so much, dear panel, and also our audience for making these discussions very lively and interactive. An after event post will be made available shortly via LinkedIn as well as Facebook. And just as encouraged, please, on the public chat, there's a link to join us next week for the Women in Tech networking meeting. I don't have any further additions on my side. It's a bye-bye from me from now. Please do stick around maybe 5 minutes, go through the public chat if there's a question that you need to answer, but also if you need to connect to someone. And see you. Bye.